before it's too late. Spread the peace, stop the hate. Let's work together before it's too late. Spread the peace, stop the hate. Let's work together before it's too late. Spread the peace, stop the hate. Join the peace police, keep America great.
Hello, everyone. How are you? Welcome to the Peace Police broadcast. I'm president of the Peace Police, Rick White, and I have with me our founder and visionary, Lowell Pass. How you doing, my brother?
Hey everybody, how y'all doing?
It's been a crazy time. I mean, to say that things have been crazy is like just an amazing understatement, huh, Lowell? We've been
yeah, and it's getting crazier by the second.
It is. It is. I got to put our little logo up here because it looks cool. Where is that?
Yeah, the election didn't go like a lot of people thought, but then again, a lot of people thought this is exactly how it would go.
Yes.
And there's a lot of rumors out there that it was prepared for and expected. And actually, this is going to probably open up some topic here that actually some people, including generals, think this was a big trap.
Yes.
That they actually wanted all this to happen so they could trap all the people that cheating. One thing we know is that there's no doubt that there's all kinds of fraud they're discovering.
Right.
From hundreds of thousands of votes that aren't even folded. Their ballots, they just came in printed, all pristine. 130,000 of them with only
Right.
3,000 of them for Trump.
Right.
In the middle of the night, and then the water break that wasn't a water break in Georgia.
Right.
And the Linwood lawsuit cases that are saying we need the film showing us that there was a water break that caused you to tell all the people to get out of the accounting area. But oddly enough, about 23 people were not made to get out of there. In fact, they were fiddling around with machines and all kinds of crap in there. So
what's interesting?
So much stuff, including the dead people and the.
There's so much. Yeah, you can't have 125% of the electorate vote. That means that really that upper 25 plus the 25 that voted twice, they're first. So like 50% of the votes cast. Out of 125%. So that's really what? It's about 60% total. That's just insane.
Strange credulity, complete.
Yeah, I was thinking of something else. As much as people hated Trump, right, and still do, and as much as his victory shocked almost everyone, especially Hillary and the Democrats, don't you think that if even the standard level of voter fraud occurred during that the Democrats would have thrown the book at Trump and tried to invalidate the election? But they didn't. Why didn't they? Because they knew there wasn't very much voter fraud. If they had the voter fraud in this election, they would have been Supreme Court, all that stuff. I mean, even Al Gore did that with Bush, right? They didn't even attempt that because they knew he won legitimately. And yet now, and they never accepted him. And then they cheated to beat him.
They tried to attack him the whole time.
Right. And then it appears that they cheated to beat him. And guess
what?
Well,
and I got to tell you, when the state of Philadelphia mails out 1.75 million mail-in ballots, but they receive back and count 2.5 million. I mean, just basic math ought to tell any judge, I don't care if you're a liberal appointed judge or whatever, ought to tell anybody, no, that ain't gonna, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah, either 750,000 people voted twice or 750,000 dead people got resurrected. But I don't think we're at the resurrection yet. I haven't seen the sky open up and Jesus come yet. So I don't think that's going to happen. There's a lot of dead people that came to life for one day.
And a lot of ballots that only have a pristine fill-in of the oval for Joe Biden, but nothing under that no downstream votes.
Yeah, that makes
down
no sense.
votes. No folding of that.
Right.
Printed with a different color ink.
Right.
it's like,
Yeah,
there's
it's
just
so
so
obvious.
weird.
It's like almost done in an amateur way. Bringing this
And then
back.
and that doesn't even take into account, Rick, the
Yeah.
voting machine software that even Canada won't use.
which got updated over that overnight period, and magically, instantly, a whole bunch of votes were found for Biden and 0 were found for Trump. I mean,
and on that note, the 47 USB drives are all missing.
Right.
I don't know if you heard that one. That's
I didn't hear that one. Yeah.
There's 47 thumb drives that this retired lieutenant, who was also in the voting, he was a official vote counter and everything else, observed and swore to an affidavit. He said they brought in bags of USB thumb drives, and supervisors kept all of us away while they were putting something in these machines, and now no one knows where the USB drives are.
Yeah.
It's like,
it's crazy.
There's just so much that anything like that's that questionable, that's this important as a national election, you would think any legitimate judge from the county level to the state level, all the way up to the Supreme Court, would say, no, we've got to double check it. We've got to put pause on this, and let's make absolutely sure every vote that was legal was counted.
Right.
And every fraudulent or illegal vote has to be thrown out. I mean, that's just common sense, but I don't think we're going to see it, Rick.
I don't either, and I just don't think the Supreme Court has the cannolis, to be honest with you, to do it. And I think we're in an interesting situation because, to bring this back a little bit to the peace police, a couple years ago, you had this series of dreams, consecutive dreams, where we saw this time where there was chaos in the streets. And we started this broadcast over 2 years ago, even with a song that says, if we don't fix this soon, there's going to be chaos in the streets. Well, we saw chaos this last year in the streets.
We saw the real thing.
But here's the thing, Lowell. I feel like whatever happens in this election, there's going to be at least upheaval. Here's what I think. I think Trump supporters have demonstrated, not just in this election, but in previous administrations like Obama's and others, conservatives have demonstrated that they don't riot. They peacefully assemble.
Right.
They don't destroy property. They don't break windows to steal televisions because
beat up old people.
Yeah, they don't do it. So I think if Biden ends up being the president, there's going to be 70-some million people who voted for Trump, and probably more whose votes were switched. Maybe 80 or 90 million people who voted for Trump, who are going to be angry, and they're going to. But because of the nature of this demographic of people, it sounds generalizing, but you know what? The reason people generalize is because it's generally true. Things are. I'm not saying everyone, but generally, Republican conservatives are not rioters. They are peaceful protesters. So I think we have protests all over the country and upheaval. But I think if Biden's in, there's less death from the riots. There'll be death from his consequences of his policies. But from the riots, there's less death. But if they turn this over and give it to Trump, we haven't seen the beginning of the shooting and the chaos in the streets, I believe. Not because Trump's bad, but because the liberals have lost their minds.
They never have accepted it over the 4 years, right?
Yeah, and they will completely lose their minds. I mean, they're just going to lose it. There will be probably it's because it's an attempted coup already. So there will be martial law to put stuff down. And so it almost feels like, brother, that either way this goes,
either way,
we have to continue with our three our three areas of focus or our three core values. Why don't you talk about what those are, bro, and
Yeah, core
why they
values.
matter?
If you notice on our logo up there, it talks about peace, police, and in the middle of the peace sign in the palm, you got 3 stars there. Those stand for peace, civility, and discourse. Peace, meaning that no matter what your persuasion is, left or right, we all should, as a good American and as a fellow citizen, be able to live together in peace. You even quote the verse sometimes, not to be religious, but as much as possible, live at peace with all men.
Right.
And then civility is you don't beat up old people with a Trump hat on, set their cars on fires, drag them out, and half kill them and the whole family, shoot policemen and kill them, and burn buildings down, and loot in the name of injustice. But really, what you wanted was that 70-inch TV.
Right.
Um, and you just, civility doesn't act like that.
That's right.
You have a way to talk these things out and do it. And that brings in the third one, which is what we lost long ago, discourse, which is the ability to discuss these things. I'm sorry, but in my opinion, the liberal left has lost the ability to peacefully, civilly discuss or have discourse over issues, topics,
That's true.
platform, party positions, and do it in a way that would convince the voters rather than trying to silence all, opposing opinions. And that's not going to help the republic if silence, just like Twitter. I know one thing I noticed that it kind of gets under my skin, I have to admit, that on Facebook, even after every post that Trump makes, or anybody positive for Trump, or anybody on the right, you got this little tag that comes up that Facebook started putting, trying to convince everybody that there are laws that make the election fair and all this stuff. And it's a link to show you just how pristine and perfect the election was, when nobody believes that. But Facebook takes it upon themselves to put that up on the posts. That's nuts. And to even silence Twitter, silence the very president of the United States. There is a attack on the First Amendment going, not a blatant open attack on the constitutional right, the Bill of Rights, to speak, freely speak. But when you shadow ban and you block, it's the same effective thing,
Right.
It's crazy what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, Twitter and Facebook and some of these other things have become so ubiquitous. They're everywhere. They're all over the place that they are really public platforms. I know they're private companies, but just like the individual Bell telephone stuff back when people used to have landlines had
That's right.
Had to be consolidated into a kind of a public entity because too much was at stake. The communication of people with each other couldn't be interrupted because of trade wars or stuff like we can't have one company mad at another, and so they do something to cut off people's service. It was too important to the infrastructure of our company. Well, unfortunately, the main source for news now is social media. It's where everyone gets all their information, and so
or the big corporate mainstream news that's all owned by 2 or 3 corporations.
Yeah.
And funny thing I noticed, and you probably did, but this even goes back to when Trump announced he was going to run. But almost you could click between channels and you see the exact same narrative, the exact same wording, exact same phrases coming out on every single news channel, as if you got what you need to say. This is what you're going to be saying. And they all say it exactly like there was a few exceptions, like Fox, which has now been bought out by a big leftist corporation. And has slipped into that. But then also you got this shadowing of the major news, not only in the social media, but a kind of an alliance between the mainstream media and the social media, where I just read that 18% of Democrats have said, had they known the news about Hunter Biden's laptop, had they known some of these things, they would definitely not have voted for Joe Biden, and they have buyer's remorse. But it's because they were not told, and no one wanted to carry that side of the news.
Yeah, that means the media is complicit in a coup. That's what that means.
Yeah.
You
think of the voter fraud was bad enough, but then when you look at, the combined efforts of the social media and the mainstream media to hide stories about Biden, and believe me, if you want to research it, you just go to DuckDuckGo.com, not Google, because that's another one of these ones where we'll block everything of the opposing nature. And then you have some like DuckDuckGo that will give you both the good, the bad, or whatever it's all out there. So you can go see how even the billions of dollars that Hunter Biden got through the Ukraine deal they're peanuts compared to what Hunter and his father Joe Biden got from the Chinese.
I'm telling you.
And yet nobody knows about that. No, that's just a rumor. No, it's not a rumor. Go look and do some due diligence. And it kind of arrives all this, Rick, at the same time when people are too lazy. In the old days, you couldn't really go do due diligence. You just had to trust the news.
Right.
We had Encyclopedia Britannica. Nobody even wanted to go to the bookshelf and pull that out and look.
No, because the minute you bought it, it was out of date.
Nowadays, you can dig down in and do your own research,
right,
and find out. But the people's attitude have reached a point where they're not even going to try to question or do due diligence or nothing.
I tell you, it makes us feel like we're on our way to becoming, a banana republic, because if the media is in bed with a certain political ideology and therefore is selectively broadcasting the truth, how is that different than Chinese state-run media? You think they're showing pictures of, they're not showing pictures of free America. They're showing pictures of Waco and, Timothy McVeigh. That's what they say America is. And so that their people will never want anything to do. Well, are we turning into a third world country with this kind of, or a banana republic, a dictatorship? When the media, what makes us free is freedom of the press. But when
both sides of stories.
But when money forces one side over the other, we all know the saying, man, when money talks and BS walks.
Yeah, Glenn Beck, if you haven't seen that recent thing on The Blaze, he just loses it when he talks about what's happened in the country, and he's fed up and can't take it anymore. And he was saying, even the news media, he said, there's a car burning behind me. It's burning. And the news is there telling this is a peaceful. And he said, no, there's a car on fire. And I'm sorry, I'm laughing, but that's how.
No, it's not peaceful for that guy who owned the car.
Are burning, fires are going, and they're saying this is pretty much a peaceful protest. And you got to be kidding.
Yeah.
And yet people are so gullible that they'll just, oh boy.
It cracks me up. It cracks me up, man. As you and I are, it's funny because you and I are both Christians. We've been involved in ministry for a long time. We're even, leading a church right now. And it's so funny how I've been in discussions with atheists who will say, this Christianity stuff you guys believe is just all propaganda and there's no facts and you haven't really done the history doesn't bear it out and all that. It's like, wait a second. You just described the news media. It's just a different, our religion, first of all, isn't that way. There's too much archaeological evidence. But if you want a religion that is based totally on conjecture and falsehoods, just watch mainstream media, watch the news, because it's propaganda. And I can't believe that we have, like when you were saying before, we didn't have the internet before, but the difference was we had news media we could trust, even even though some of them were pretty liberal people, they still reported the facts. I remember watching just recently when John Kennedy was killed. Liberal, or I'm sorry, very conservative, because Kennedy was Democrat, but very conservative Republicans who were not Kennedy fans were in tears. And it also happened when Ronald Reagan was shot.
Yeah.
In the early '80s, Ronald Reagan was shot.
Those were the last of the United days.
Back then, you've got liberal journalists saying, "I can't believe this. The president has been shot," and they're almost in tears and they're speechless. And you get the feeling that if Trump got shot right now, that every mainstream media thing would say, "Well, he had it coming to him. It was only a matter of time."
Oh yeah. In fact, when he got the COVID,
yeah,
you saw people dancing in the streets. I mean, and you saw news media says, "Well, rightfully so," and stuff like that. I mean, just evil, just willfully wicked.
It is wicked.
And you're right. Even people that we really trusted and we liked, like Walter Cronkite, were definitely liberals.
Right.
But they were fair-minded.
Yes.
In the sense that they gave you both sides of the story. And also were human and American and the values that we hold.
That's right. Yeah, they wouldn't.
Yeah, it's gotten bad where liberals don't even know that their party has been hijacked by a bunch of revolutionaries that now openly talk about wanting Marxism. I mean, BLM can put on their website they want the destruction of the family unit, the nuclear family unit, and they want a Marxist regime to come in, and they are a Marxist organization. And that you got the NBA, the NFL, and all these people acting as if that's just talking about black people. No, it's not. It's an organization.
Man, even Amazon's header says BLM.
Yeah, I mean, it's the nuttiest thing in the world. And if you go right now, even now, if you go type Antifa.com, you'll see that it goes to Joe Biden's website. That's not a joke. You can do it right now and show everybody. It's the craziest thing in the world. I mean, Antifa.com, unless they moved it in the last week, people have been talking about that for 5 months, but it's the nuttiest thing in the world, So, Antifa is just an idea, and Glenn Beck said, "Yeah, Nazism was just an idea."
That's the problem, right there. That's the problem. And if you've studied, I'm kind of a fan of World War II and study. I was blessed enough to get to go to Berlin, and I went through the Holocaust Museum, and I got to see like the Reichstag and all these different buildings that were part of what happened. And the Holocaust Museum, if you ever get a chance to go, in the one in Berlin, if anyone gets a chance to go, it'll change your life. I walked in there for about 3 hours and never said a word. No one else spoke a word, and all you could hear, if you took your headphones off, were people crying and sobbing, because you're seeing all letters from 12-year-olds saying, "Daddy, they're taking us all in trains. I'm sure I won't see you again. I'll see you in heaven." Things like that in her handwriting. This all started with an ideology in Mein Kampf, right? It started with
he said what he was going to do, right?
He said exactly what he was going to do, and he slowly got people on his side into hatred. Now, it's so funny that they tried to paint Trump that way, and he's the least hateful of many people that are out there. The hate has all been directed toward him. He's not hateful. You know what he is? He's brash and abrupt, and he has no filter.
Yeah, he's very straightforward, and
he has no filter. That doesn't mean he's hateful. It means he's saying what 98%.
And you got to add that New York flavor that he has.
That's 98. He's saying what 98% of the rest of the people believe. He just has the cannolis to say it because he doesn't need the money. But
that's why DC hates him. Yeah.
But the hatred's on the other side when AOC says, "Listen, when this is all over, we got to find all the Trump sycophants and make sure they pay. So anyone that was into Trump, they're already saying we got to find them and make them pay.
That's so Nazi, it's unbelievable.
It is. That's
that Soviet Union type.
Exactly. Well, bro, it's 4:25. I want to talk real quick about the hats and the website.
You bet.
And then we'll probably kill this broadcast. It's been a little different broadcast, but we've never hidden the fact that we were Trump supporters, and we still call on every show. We call for peace, civility, and discourse. We will never ever endorse violence,
never,
or name calling, those kinds of things. Never. I don't care who does it. We don't care who does it. If conservatives get violent, we will call them out on it. Not for
and really, Rick, just the one last thing, we ought to really all care. I read recently, it warmed my heart that 35% of Democrats are not sure this was a fair election.
Right. That's right.
And I think every American, as I say, being from the pest control background that I have, only cockroaches run from the light. So right. Why would something so important as this be a problem to double check, to make sure, to have the integrity of light shined on this?
Right.
I should say the light of integrity shined to make absolutely sure who won, and that every single illegal vote, no matter how it came in, fake, dead people, non-residents, whatever it is, non-citizens, all those get thrown out, and only the legal votes count. I mean, every American should be for that.
That's right. So you see the hats? These are cool. This is a good way for you to support us. If you go to peacepolice.net, you can get these hats. They're $20 each, plus some shipping. But if you buy 4, you get 1 free, or the shipping is covered, however you want to look at it. But you know what? Wearing these hats out in the middle of some of the chaos that's coming, you might want this, because the vision has always been that there's a group of people from both the right and the left who put something above political ideology, and that is the idea of America. Sorry, I got the hiccups. The idea of America, right? That we're brothers and sisters and compatriots as Americans first. And that's who the peace police are. People who say, listen, you may be left, you may be right, but you're my brother when it comes to the battlefield against any enemies, and we will find ways to work together. Not you are the devil from hell and we must eradicate you at all costs. And that's really what we've turned into. So we're hoping the Peace Police will take off. Check out peacepolice.net. Buy a hat. You can also check out the song that you heard in the intro is called Spread the Peace. It's a song I wrote. You can get it on iTunes. It's 99 cents. Out of those 99 cents, we get like 60 cents or 69 cents or something. So we're certainly not going to be rich on those or the hats. Trust me, we had to pay a lot for the hats. However, every little bit helps, and we can keep going. I think we're going to need the Peace Police.
And you'll be able to stimulate with that song, playing it for people, and these hats. You'll be able to stir up a conversation of neutrality and peace and stability, and be a player in the coming together of Americans to say, listen, we don't need all this hate on either side. We need to come back together and talk about issues again. And talk about things again, and let's have those 3 core values.
Exactly. Also, click that Patreon button on peacepolice.net, because we could use the help. Anything else, brother?
Nope, that's it.
Well, thank you all for tuning in. This was a good broadcast. We will see you next week. Until then, spread the peace, stop the hate. Let's work together before it's too late. We'll see you.